Alright, should be a live video soon. Yeah, very soon. It's happening right now. It's living on me. Yes, so I have to open the chat in the other program, blah blah blah, so I have to waste a little bit of time doing this crap because YouTube doesn't let me use my own channel to do such things. So anyway, and so I have to go through this routine. Alright, there, done. Alright, so this is a video response to Blue Moonshine. He's a PhD physicist, and he's a moron. Okay, yeah, okay. And he's rude and obnoxious and nasty and shitty as a human being in general. And it has to do with this simple idea that, I probably have some piece of wire here I can illustrate. You spin something around, okay, and then you shorten the string. And the idea is that it's an experiment that demonstrates conservation of momentum. Because, yeah, you shorten the string and it doesn't make any difference. The object's still moving the same speed. So if I was to release it when it's spinning in the small circle, it would go the same speed as when it was spinning in the big circle. So in the big circle it looks like it's moving really slowly, but it's moving exactly the same velocity in the small circle. And he doesn't get that. Alright, he's a physicist and he doesn't understand that simple concept. That the experiment really has nothing to do with kinetic energy, because you're not changing the mass. And obviously you're not changing the velocity if you're conserving the momentum. So obviously nothing really changes in the experiment. It just basically demonstrates absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing important. Alright, so I don't even know why he would even discuss this with some other dopey flat earther guy, I guess. In the sense that it's just going to be conservation of momentum and nothing else. Alright, so in the previous video I explained all this. But his response was so obnoxious, that I figure it's worth going over it some more. And so that's what we're going to do. And I just have to have the right program. That's not right. Yeah, it's just the email. That should be right. Now, what I will do, just to be safe, is I'll stop streaming. Yeah, because I can. So I will. Just for a minute. Promise. It won't be very long. Anyway, so, yeah, I have to make sure that, yeah, it should work. So I'll stop. And then I'll start again, right? So it should have done all of that. I don't know if I need to check. I'll just check this time. And yes, it appears that everything's back to working. So, okay. Yeah, so it's time to read the email. So I sent an email to him and the other guy. I can science that. I think it was called something like that, his channel. So I didn't get a reply from the other guy, but I did get a reply from him, which is nice. I got a reply, but, it's so bad that, there's no point. Alright, so I just stated, in a recent video of mine, I referenced a couple of your videos on the subject of energy, or more specifically, the kinetic energy theorem. I believe and argue that momentum is the only energy in the universe, and that kinetic energy only survives as a concept because physics doesn't do any foundational experiments. They don't drop 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet. Two things that have completely different momentums. One of them has twice as much momentum, and they claim it's the same energy. Okay, I would be very grateful to hear your response to my commentary. I would appreciate you viewing the first video that illustrates 2 experiments proving my contention. So that was the two videos ago. In the second video, I reference your video and make mention of where I think you've made misstatements regarding how physics really works. And so I say, thanks for your time, Gary, Draft Science. Okay, so I don't think that's very offensive. Yeah, so anyway, alright, I'll stop streaming and find his response. All right, should be back. All right, so he states, oh damn, I wasn't gonna, oh, it's okay, my email address is showing that's okay. I won't waste my time debunking all your nonsense. Let me just focus on the redundant one. You said many times something like conservation of angular momentum means speed is constant. So I didn't say anything about speed, and I didn't say anything about angular momentum. So that's just crap. That is ridiculously wrong. Angular momentum is not the same thing as linear momentum. Yes, it is. Momentum is always the same thing. It's mass times velocity. Always. Okay. In the case of the ball on the string, reducing the radius increases the speed. So that's a really dumb thing to say. Okay, so not only does the RPM increase because the ball has a smaller distance to travel per turn. So what? It's still moving exactly the same velocity. The RPM increase also because the ball is traveling faster. So he says it again. It's not traveling faster. It's not doing more speed because it has exactly the same velocity. All right. If I have time, maybe I will add you to this web page. So he has some buffoony page. Okay. Or perhaps I will make a series of videos for you like I did for John. Yes, and that's exactly what I wanted. Thank you very much. Please keep citing my videos, so whatever that is. Yeah. All right. So I will now go find my reply. Alright, should be back. Shit, I don't know if this is working, but what the hell. I'm doing it anyway. Alright, so he says I won't waste my time debunking blah blah blah. I state, it seems an excessively hostile response, but disagreement is never easy. Perhaps we should agree that experiment should prove who's believing nonsense. So we should just find experiments that prove the case one way or another. Experiments that actually measure something. You know, like where they measure the temperature of the ground or the ballistic, inside the ballistic pendulum, or something else where they claim there's heat somewhere. Well, maybe they should measure it with a thermometer. Yeah. All right, you said many times something like conservation of angular momentum means the speed is constant. Well, I didn't say it, so it's just bullshit. So I said, I almost never utter the words angular momentum because it's not a real concept. There's just momentum. There's no such thing as an angle of momentum. There's no such thing as any such thing. There's just velocity. All right. But I have said hundreds of times that the universe is just made out of masses moving velocities. Yes, and it's always a vector, and it's always in a direction, in one direction, and then it can change because a force is applied. But it's always at any one instant of time, any one tiny little Planck amount of time, it's always a straight line vector. Okay. That is ridiculously wrong. So that's what he says. Angular momentum is not the same thing as linear momentum. Yes it is. Okay. So I said momentum is specifically defined as a mass times a velocity. That's what it is. It isn't something else, ever. Okay. And all velocities in the smallest units of times are straight line vectors. Angular momentum is ridiculously irrelevant. And it's just that, it's irrelevant. We're arguing about how fast the object is moving. So if the string breaks, how fast does the object move? And it's going to move the same speed when it's doing the big arc as when it's doing the little arc. It's going to leave with exactly the same velocity, accounting for any losses to air friction and that kind of crap. In the case of the ball on the string, reducing the radius increases the speed. Okay, so I said, by speed, do you mean velocity? I mean, what does he mean by speed? It's going 60 miles an hour, speed-wise, and it's going 60 miles an hour, velocity-wise. Is that what does he mean by speed? What does speed have to do with anything? All right. Clearly, the velocity can't increase if momentum is to be conserved. The mass doesn't change. So if you're going to conserve the momentum, you can't possibly change the velocity. Duh. God, this guy is really dumb. Flat Earth dumb. He's a flat Earth debunker, and this is the kind of garbage he types. Okay, so this one is he doubles down on this moronic nonsense. So not only does the RPM increase, well, of course the RPMs increase because it's a much smaller circle. Duh. Okay, because the ball has a smaller distance to travel per turn. Yes, I said exactly that in my video. The RPM increase also because the ball is traveling faster. So he says it again, the ball is traveling faster. What the fuck does that mean? It's traveling exactly the same velocity. If you're conserving the momentum, it's traveling the same speed. So how can you argue it's traveling faster? And the whole point is you're making it smaller later in time. So we know if it's doing anything, it's traveling a little bit slower because it's lost some energy to friction, air resistance and string resistance. So it's lost energy. It can't possibly be traveling faster. Okay, right. So I say, where have you shown any experimental evidence that the ball is traveling faster? Question mark. Just like with reducing the length of a pendulum. So if you make a pendulum and then you swing it into an impediment, and it goes like this. It goes really fast and it looks all jerky. You know, it's going, and then, you know, you put the little impediment, it goes, well, it's traveling exactly the same speed, okay? It's the same exact velocity. So it only looks like it's moving faster. It's not moving any faster. I mean, again, this is grammar school physics. All right. Just like with reducing the length of a pendulum, reducing the radius of a circle does not change the velocity. Okay. If I have time, maybe I will add you to this web page. So his little buffoony web page. And I said, I am willing to pay you to include me. All right. So I don't know if you can see any of that part. I guess we'll safely scroll. Is it safe to scroll? No, it isn't safe. Okay, so I won't. All right. Yeah, so the link is showing. Okay. I'm willing. Well, his email address is on his YouTube channel, so it's not that big a secret. I'm willing to pay you to include me. So I will. Yeah, I am willing. Or perhaps I will make a series of videos for you like I did for John. Yes, exactly. Try to buffoon me, okay, because I'm going to so reverse it on you. It's going to be so much fun. Okay. That's exactly what I was requesting. And I will likewise make a video exposing the ignorance you displayed in this email. So it was just so ignorant to 3 times talk about the speed increasing, it traveling faster. Okay, and what was the other line he used? Well, there's 3 of them in there. 3 times he implied that it's moving faster when no, it isn't. No, it isn't. All right, so I'll play his video. The actual video of him doing the experiment where he doesn't statistically monitor anything that's relevant. At all. At all. Alright, so now I have to find the video, which shouldn't be too onerous. Let's see. That looks like it. So I should be able to link to that. Oh, I forgot to do his email. Yeah, okay. The one he replied back to me is just so obnoxiously rude. So I'll just read it. It's almost not worth responding to. So I'll just undo that. Then I won't have to worry about anything. Okay. Alright, so his response to my response is just about nothing. So I said, this seems like an excessively hostile response. And he says, well, next time, try to think twice before trying to unsuccessfully prove me wrong. Yeah, I don't have to prove you wrong. Because, yes, physical reality proves you wrong. Your own statements prove you wrong. You can't conserve the momentum, retard. If you're not changing the mass, you can't conserve the momentum if you say it's moving a different speed. That's not possible. All right. So then I said, but disagreement is never easy. Perhaps we should agree that experiments should prove who's believing nonsense. Precisely, experiments prove you wrong. So they, of course, do not. And none of the experiments I listed in my video has he referenced at all. the ballistic pendulum, the pushing things, and the lever, any of the experiments. In particular, those that I presented in my video. So there's no experiments in his videos. Like I said, he did the Newton's laws in the silliest way possible. This is essentially the experiment he did. He took two force meters and pulled them at each other and pushed them at each other. So it's the same thing as me doing this with us. What side is actually pushing? Is it this side or is it this side? Yeah, is there any difference? No. Too ridiculous. So that's his experiment. That's the quality of his experiments, okay? Just meaningless, silly, trivial, moronic crap. Okay. In particular, those that I presented in my video. So there's none in your videos. There's no experiments in your video showing anything whatsoever that's relevant, especially relevant to kinetic energy. Those results you took care not revealing, so that's just a lie. So what results do I need to reveal? What video of yours, give me the time code of your video where you prove something, except besides you proving you're an idiot. That makes you a coward, so that didn't happen. You're the coward because you're not going to be able to make any kind of video response actually playing my content and explaining how I'm wrong about something. So go ahead. Play the clips from my content and show how I'm wrong and you're right. You won't be able to do that, retard. Okay. Who flees when facing overwhelming evidence? So, we'll see who flees. Okay, pussy shit. So, pull your dick out of your mother's vagina and, grow some balls and play my video and show where I made some egregious mistake. You fucking piece of dirt. Okay. See a psychiatrist. Well, you're the one fucking your mother, so, what can I say? Anyway, P.S. I will add your profile to this web page when I feel like it. Oh, isn't that interesting? This stupid web page is such a pile of shit, okay? It just references things, and you gotta click on the thing, and then you go through all this drama to try to find out what the actual subject is, which doesn't show up ever. I mean, you can't figure out what exactly they're disagreeing about. Ugh, what a slimy moron, though. Okay, anyway. So let's play the video. That ought to be entertaining. I predict it will have entertainment value. Okay, anyway. No, it's not a bad experiment. So he's basically put a stick... Well, let me put the video on so you can see it. Yeah, do that first, Gary. Okay, I'll do it first. It's called Mendabar bullshit. Okay. And then I say yes to that. And then I just move it into this position, and that should be fine. So it's this stick here, and this pendulum hanging down, and then you can pull the string up and shorten the arc. And so really this is just the pendulum experiment, where you could just make the pendulum shorter and it would swing faster. It's the same exact experiment, except they're going to do a loop-de-loo thing here with a circle. So it's not really at all interesting. And it has nothing to do with kinetic energy because you're not changing the mass. So therefore, there's no conversions. There's no problem where you either create free momentum or free kinetic energy. You don't have that duality problem because all the energy is staying in one object. You're not transferring it into something lighter or transferring it into something heavier. So it really has nothing to do with kinetic energy.
Moves in a circular motion, not in a chaotic elliptic 3D motion. In order to ensure this, it is easier to start the motion with the shortest length at high speed and let the system settle for a second or two. Then we can increase the length to its maximum, and this will constitute our initial state of motion.
Right, and so it just has a velocity. It has a linear velocity. If you release it, it has a linear velocity. So you're just saying it's a linear velocity taking a curved path because another force is being applied perpendicular to its motion, so it's irrelevant. And that's it. So there's nothing to see here. There's just an object moving a velocity. There's a mass with a velocity. and you're not going to destroy its velocity or increase its velocity by changing the length of the string. The velocity is already set. It's momentum. You can't change the momentum by changing the length of the string.
It is important to vary the length slowly because we don't want to give the ball non-negligible extra momentum.
So it won't be that you're giving it extra, it's that you have to give it more. So the fact is you could pull the string really quick, and what you're actually doing is giving it more velocity in one direction, so it's going to overwhelm any forward motion because its velocity in the string direction is much higher than the velocity that it's moving. So if you pull the string and at a velocity where the object moves much faster than its rotational velocity, then its rotational velocity will become unmeasurable, essentially, because it's going to fly right off. You'll give it so much velocity that it's not going to be, there's not going to be any tension in the string anymore. It's going to fly up and hit the piece of wood. Duh.
Then we can shorten the length and reach our final state of motion.
Right, so the simple argument is the final state of motion is exactly the same as the initial state, minus air resistance and friction, because you didn't change anything. You haven't changed anything that matters.
So let us watch again the experiment in slow motion. And this time we are going to estimate the radius of the circular motion.
Right, so it doesn't really, you can do it by radiuses, and you can do the calculation and figure out how many radians it's going and RPMs and all. You can do all that stuff, but you don't need to. Because all you have to do is measure the distance, because it's always going to be proportional. Just like a lever, you don't have to measure it as an arc, you can just measure it as a distance, because it's always going to be proportional. Twice the distance is going to be twice the velocity. And in this case, half the distance would be half the velocity. I mean, it would be the same velocity and twice the rotation rate. So it doesn't tell you anything. Half the radius is going to be twice the number of revolutions per second.
And the angular velocity by measuring the angle that the string makes with the vertical.
And again, there's no change in the velocity because you're conserving the momentum. So this part you don't need in slow motion, but we'll play it just because he was whining about not playing his video, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, this is all just a waste of time, frankly.
So let us go down to our initial state of motion.
Okay.
We can fight back with our vote.
Oh, that's
Mikey Sherrill for
unfortunate.
governor. Mikey Sherrill
Commercials
lower cost
on
of insulin
garbage
and
physics
prescription
videos.
drugs. As governor, she'll lower cost of health care
so
and ensure
bad.
free pre-K and school lunches. Mikey Sherrill, Dr. Dale Caldwell.
Physics for money.
us.
They turn everything into something to whore.
We have here a string length L of 40 centimeters and the angle theta is 43 degrees. Using trigonometry, we calculate the radius r of the circular motion to be 27.3 centimeters. Now we can use the equations of dynamics, namely Newton's second law, to find that the centripetal force is mg tangent theta, where m is the mass of the pendulum and g the acceleration due to gravity. But we can also apply kinematic equations.
Yeah, that's right. You can also just measure the distance from the complete length of the arc and just recognize the proportional reality that half that distance will be twice as many rotations per minute, but it won't make any difference because, frankly, the velocity is going to be the same.
To find out that the centripetal acceleration is equal to r omega square, where omega is the angular velocity. Therefore, the centripetal force must be equal to mr omega squared. Putting everything together, we conclude that omega is the square root of g over L cosine theta. With our values for the string length and the angle, we find an angular velocity of 5.79 radians per second. Now let us...
So we know that the other equation needs the velocity in meters per second, not radians per second. So you don't do 1/2 mv squared with radians.
Shorten the string length slowly down to 20 centimeters.
Okay. Got that.
We measure now an angle of 70 degrees, which implies that the radius of the circular motion is now 18.8 centimeters. Using the same formula as before, we conclude that the final angular velocity is 12 radians per second. So, let us summarize what we have.
So now he's going to find that somehow the kinetic energy changed, but the kinetic energy can't change because you didn't change the mass. So if you conserve the momentum and you didn't change the mass, then you have to conserve the kinetic energy because the velocity has to be the same. I mean, you can't conserve the momentum and change the velocity. Can't do that. Not in this experiment.
Initial radius was 27.3 centimeters and our initial angular velocity.
So obviously this is half the radius, right? 30 and 18. Now that's going to be a little messy. So that's 2/3, and so you're saying 4 goes into 12. Yeah, that's too many times. So somehow his numbers are off. 4 goes into 12. No, 4 goes into 12 3 times, so it's just right. 2/3, right? Yeah.
Velocity was 5.79 radians per second. Our final radius was 18.8 centimeters and our final angular velocity was 12 radians per second. Now remember his predicted value for the final angular velocity, which with 3 significant figures is 3.99 radians.
Oh yeah, wait, that is way off because 27 is only 10 more than 20. So yeah, that's way off. Yeah, this isn't even close.
Per second, and mine, which is 12.2 radians per second. If we calculate the percent difference between his predicted value and the experimental one, we get exactly 100% difference. He would probably have had better success by drawing a value at random. On the other hand, the percent difference with my predicted value is only 1.65%. Of course, the small difference is mostly due to the small but non-zero air drag and also the uncertainties on the measurement of the string length and the angle.
So this would be so much better if he had 40 and 20, you know, as the differences. So you'd have twice the radius. And so twice the radius, you'd say, yes, you're supposed to get twice as many rotations, you know, at half the radius. And so this 1/3 difference, again, there should be a third difference here. It should be like 7 and 12. You know, so yeah, I'm not something's broken somewhere. This 12 is just too high. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The fact is, my simple contention is that substantially the momentum is conserved, and if you cut the string when it's doing the small arc, the bob will fly off at exactly, you know, minus friction, the same velocity if you cut the string when it's in the big arc. That the velocity of the object is the same, and it just looks like it's moving faster, but it isn't.
And once again, we have proven you wrong, Mr. John Mandelbauer. Your angular energy is not conserved. 68.
So whatever that means, angular energy. Now we have a new new concept he's throwing in here, angular energy. So his point was the Mandelbaum guy was just kind of stupid because he's using a yo-yo, and obviously it's a ton of friction. Once he makes the arc really small, it's banging off his hand and all kinds of other crap. So, you know, obviously it's not going to be 1300 RPMs when you're banged into the yo-yo a few hundred times.
% difference between the initial and final energies. On the other hand, the % difference between the initial and final angular momentum is only 1.64%. The scientific community is right, Mr. John Mandelbauer.
So again, there's nothing. What the guy just basically was pointing out RPMs. So he was right to state it will go 1300 RPMs if you have a tiny little arc, right? So if you have like 100 RPMs out here, and I make the arc just 1 inch, it would be like 1300 RPMs. So there's nothing wrong with what he said. So then again, the whole point is that none of this is relevant to the real core issue, which is if you eliminate friction and air resistance, you'll conserve the momentum, so the velocity of the object will exactly be the same velocity. You can't change its velocity.
Your beloved experiment of a ball on a string supports the fact that angular momentum is conserved.
Momentum is conserved. Period.
So the guy keeps harassing me, always asking the same question over and over, with small variations, otherwise Quora simply rejects it. For example, here, he's asking if it is better to...
So this is the part where both of these guys, the other guy also, thinks that pulling the string, making it shorter, is adding energy, when of course it's not, because it's perpendicular to the motion.
Have a childlike tantrum than face the truth. Well, Mr. John Mandelbauer, usually a childlike tantrum lasts about 5 minutes, but yours has been lasting for 10 years. The theory has never said that angular momentum is conserved in all cases. What it says is that angular momentum is conserved if the external torque is 0.
So he's saying the same thing, that somehow it wasn't conserved. So he says it's proven to be conserved, and now he's saying it's not conserved when the torque isn't 0. And again, the torque is perpendicular to the motion, so it can't possibly be affecting the momentum of the bob, just like, you know, things orbiting in space, their velocity, their momentum is not disturbed by gravity constantly pushing them into the earth. It doesn't change their velocity.
Read again. I put it in bold fonts for you. Your stupid yo-yo has an external torque that...
So there's no external torque that's relevant. So again, he's a doctorate in physics, and he thinks, you know, that he doesn't get the whole launching something off a cliff argument, where you can't change how far it's going to go in a given amount of time by pushing this way on it. It won't change anything as long as you don't push it into a frictional surface. So as long as it has no contact with anything, the two forces act completely independent. So the pulling force, pulling the objects together, can't change the momentum of the object. So he's just plain fucking wrong.
Becomes huge as you decrease the radius down to 10%
There,
of its
he just says
original
it's
length.
he says huge. He says it's huge. It's nothing. There is no change in the momentum of the object. How many times do I have to say that?
Is it that you don't understand?
No, you don't understand. It's a perpendicular force. It can't change the motion that you're measuring, which is the momentum, the velocity, the mass moving a velocity. It doesn't change that at all. You idiot.
Instead of inflicting yourself tortures by asking your only two neurons to fight for the third place.
Yeah, so this is all this is how they, these fucking scientists, they can't do better than this as arguments. They have to throw in this moronic buffoonery crap, because they have no integrity. Their science has no integrity. Their arguments show no integrity. They're fucking 11-year-old morons. Fucking their mothers.
Why don't you go fish or play golf?
So anyway, what an asshole. I mean, frankly. Yeah, right. So anyway, so I think that was the video. Yeah, that's the one. All right, so I'll see if there's anything in the chat, and I'll decide if there's anything else that needs to be gone over. But again, he didn't pay attention to a single one of the arguments in the videos I recommended him viewing. He will not, because he's a coward, okay, show any of those videos and explain where I'm saying something incorrect. Because he's a coward. He's a physicist. That means he's a coward. Yeah, it always turns out that way. Oh, look at all this stuff. Wow, we have real comments. Amazing. All right, physics suck. Okay, that's an interesting name. LOL, are you seriously trying to challenge Dr. Rebavizev? Yeah, I am. He has over 6 peer-reviewed papers. So what? What are they? What paper does he have peer-reviewed? How to fuck your mother? Get real. All right, how many do you have? Well, the fact is, if you take my videos and compile them, I have the paper on springs, proving how springs work. So I have the paper on gravity. I have the paper on the double slit experiment that has about 17 papers built into it, okay, about the whole thing about how the distance between the surfaces decides everything. It can all be figured out ahead of time. You know exactly how many little bars are going to be created. The whole thing is explained. All right, so yeah, I got at least that many papers. Yeah, they're just in video form. Let's see. Nice to see someone responding. Well, it's not much of a response so far, but we'll see. Pausing stream is a handy feature. Yes, that is. I did find it handy. Okay, ask him about the Bruce Yearney experiments. Yes, well, he's not. So far, he hasn't paid any attention to my arguments, right? So he's only saying that his argument is right. Right, but he's not saying anything about any of my arguments. So he hasn't countered any of my statements about how ballistic pendulums work, how anything works. None of my statements have been responded to yet by him. Okay. But yes, obviously the Bruce Yearney, sliding blocks proves the point. A block with 16 times the kinetic energy hits a block with 1 unit of kinetic energy. And the one with 16 times the energy doesn't win the collision. Duh. Yeah, right. Kinetic energy is real, except it never does any work. It never wins. A tug of war, it never wins anything. Except the dumbass award. All right, anyway. So physics suck again. Watch the Mythbusters episode 1111. I don't even know what that means. But obviously I referenced that because it proves so many things, right? It proves you put 2 springs and you have 2 springs hit each other, both the springs compress, right? But if you have 1 spring and you just have the force hit the 1 spring, it compresses twice as much, So it's got a lot of good stuff in it. But yes, clearly it shows that a 100-mile-an-hour car does not crush 4 times as much as a 50-mile-an-hour car. Well-recognized physics professor can be ignorant. Yes, apparently. I didn't know he was well-recognized. Like I said, he's got a bunch of videos trying to, basically teach people how to make explosives. That's pretty tacky, frankly. Yeah. Let's see. Draft science is unveiling the truth. Well, okay. What is this life? Okay. Oh, that's not his name. Oh, he's responding to what is this life? Okay. The rubber band pulling objects together is a nice demonstration of kinetic energy. Amazing. Just fucking amazing. I mean, it proves exactly the opposite. It demonstrates zero kinetic energy doing any work. Okay. This has been explained to draft science so many times, and he has no counter arguments. I'm just going to block you because that's such an insipid statement. I've played the videos over and over again. I played the Bruce Yearney video at least 4 times in my videos because it's such a great piece of evidence. You're just a liar. Terrible, awful liar. All right. I mean, it's just I have no obligation to respond to lies. I just don't. So if you're going to lie, just block yourself. Okay. So yeah, the physics sucks guy. Let's see what he says to him. Involuntary suffering. Mythbusters experiment debunks kinetic energy. I'm not sure why you're so hung up on this magical fairy tale stuff when you adopt the much more rational view Gary is proposing. I don't know what that means. But anyway, I don't understand the asshole at all because it was just idiotic to bring up Bruce Yearney's experiments because they're just such decisive evidence against kinetic energy. All right, so they respond to him again. Basic calculus proves Gary right. Debunk all those videos. Yeah, I did all that. She literally had nothing. I don't know, important to say, LOL. I don't know who the she is. But that's off the subject anyways. Okay, so that's where we are stuck. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could view, right? It says I can view these deleted messages, but I don't know. Is there any point? Yeah, is there any point? Let's just see. Okay. Let's see. So, yeah, it's just insults. Okay. Stop doing that menu thing. So he says, anyone who understands high school level calculus can realize how dumb this is. No, I'm just too stupid. So all this argument from our mathematics proves something when no experiments prove something. Just so everyone in that chat knows, there are plenty of YouTube videos and channels that are dedicated to disproving, so there really aren't any that do anything credible. So you can keep saying those lies, but they're just lies. So yeah, I'm not gonna bother reading any of his other comments. I think we'll just block him instead of timing him out because he's just a liar. Okay. And such. So I guess I could put the chat up here. So I might as well do that, I guess. Let's see. Pop out. Yeah, there it is. Alright, do I want to make any other arguments in this video? Or will anybody say anything relevant? That's 2 questions, Gary. Yeah. Let's see. That physics sucks guys referenced Stephen Bro and mindless marbles for evidence. Yeah, I'm just saying, well, Brozo, remember the last thing Brozo did was he promised he was going to do the lever launcher experiment, so he redid it. And he never showed it. So I mean, you got to question that, right? You got to say, what the fuck? You did the experiment, you redid it, you claim it proves your case, and yet you never produced the video. I mean, what kind of bullshit is that? Well, it's their bullshit. That's what it is. Yeah, I'm not bothering with those clowns anymore. It's just a waste of time. Their arguments are so bad. Yeah, it's not even on the subject. Yeah, physicist Michael was another, it's a huge disappointment. I mean, here he is, he should show the integrity. If he's going to make those arguments and say this stuff, and then he gets the materials, does the stuff, and he's claiming the evidence is going to be on his side, and then he walks away. Right when he's on the verge of proving his case, he decides to run away. I mean, that's just bullshit. And that's the Newton cradle experiment. I guess we haven't argued this one in a long time because it's hard to experiment to measure, okay, for amateurs anyway, to get these velocities of pendulum swinging these little distances. It's very difficult to do, but the basic idea is their theory is, okay, again, this is their theory. This is what their physics demands. So if you're going to be a defender of their physics, you have to recognize that you have to defend things that are just crazy. All right, that it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. That is, for me to spin something 5 times as fast, I have to use 25 times the work. And that somehow, if it's something spinning 5 times as fast, it can do 25 times the work. Which means, like, you could spin a turbine in Niagara Falls, and you spin it 5 times as fast, and it makes 25 times the electricity. None of that shit happens anywhere on this planet. And yet, these people insist we must believe it. It doesn't happen. They know it doesn't happen. And yet they're insisting we believe it happens. I mean, it's that bad. And so in this case, they have this idea that you have a 1 mass and a 3 mass in a Newton's cradle. And you swing the 1 mass in, okay, and the 3 mass ends up with 150% of the momentum. So you have 100% momentum here going in, and you end up with 150% going this way, and you end up with 50% going this way. So you have now increased your total momentum from 100 to 200. So now you have 200 momentums in the system. You have an object going this way with 150. You have an object going that way with 50. And they're both going to come back together again, right? And you're going to have a collision between 50, all right, and 150. And guess what their theory is? Only 100 pops back out. And they call that conservation of momentum. So I have a car going 150 miles an hour here. I have a car going 50 miles an hour here. And only 100 miles an hour of car comes out of the collision. That's all I get back. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's a ridiculous theory. And I have to spend years arguing with people who are supposed to be reasonable and intelligent, or intelligent and reasonable. Bullshit, they're intelligent, or bullshit, they're reasonable. They can't have integrity and make these counter arguments, because they do in fact know it doesn't take 25 times the fuel to make something go 5 velocity. It doesn't happen. Yeah. All right. No new comments. And unfortunately, this live stuff just too small an audience. I need to be challenged somewhere. Provoked to draw it. So I did find a bunch of little pulleys that I ended up having in my junk. I have so much junk. Like 10 of them or more. And I was thinking if I ran thread through them, I could do the pulley experiment. Because pulleys do prove the case too, right? I mean, there can't be an argument between reasonable people, can there? I mean, pulleys conserve momentum and they completely annihilate any notion of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy has no viability, certainly in the idealization of a pulley. Okay, there's just no hope for this silly crap of Alright, so I have a mass on the pulley, 2 ropes, and then I have a mass on the pulley, right? And we know that these two things, right? This is, say, a 10 and this is a 5 mass. We know that in this circumstance, just like with a lever, they're balanced. That it's the same thing. All right? And that when I move this object, because it's 2 ropes, it's going to move half as fast as this object's going to move, because it's 1 rope. Okay? And that's a simple truth. So any motion I give the 10 mass, let's say I did this sideways, not hanging in gravity, and I actually just connected this to a brick wall. That if I pull on this with a force, pull in the sense of push, yeah, that this has to move in the opposite direction, okay, with twice the speed. No doubt about it. Can't happen any other way. It's one solid rope. Can't possibly happen any other way. So, it's obvious that, yes, the momentum is conserved, but the kinetic energy won't be. I'll be making free kinetic energy when I move the heavy object, and I'll be losing kinetic energy when I move the light object. Fact. Alright, yeah, the more attention from other physics tubers, the more the audience. Yes, so that's fine. I want the arguments, but that's, and you just can't get these, but they're all cowards. Like I said, it just always turns out that they're going to turn into cowards. They always run away. There hasn't been a case where anyone has, like I say, physics Michael guy, he did hang in there. He did the lever launcher experiment, but he just fucked it right in the most essential experiment. He uses the lame excuse that my cart might get a dent in it. And so he runs the cart into a blob of clay. I mean, it was just so pathetic, right? You're doing elastic collision tests, and he puts a blob of clay, in the experiment, just fucks it. Just says, I'm not going to bother doing the real experiment. Just so bad. Oh, somebody's doing calculus again. So again, it doesn't prove it. So again, you can keep saying that this is a per second acceleration. You can keep pretending it's 9.8 meters per second, or per second squared. It isn't any squared seconds. It's 9.8 meters per second, an increase in your velocity per 1 second. That's what the real formula is. And citing this nonsense, you can do it over and over again. You have no evidence of it. Zero fucking evidence. Show me the experiment that demonstrates it to be a distance-dependent force and not a time-dependent force. Show me one case where understanding gravity as a time-dependent force gets you a wrong answer. You fucking piece of garbage. Yeah, it's another guy who fucks his mother, so I guess that makes sense. I was just guessing, but apparently it's a thing. Look, we know distance isn't work. It was in the video I, argued. So, I mean, you just keep lying about this fact that you're doing work when you're covering distance. Going twice the velocity, you will roll further. But it's not because you have more than twice the energy. 4 times the distance doesn't mean you did 4 times the work. And it's clear in gravity that going 4 times the distance and you're only going twice the speed. And you're only in the force twice as long. So how could you collect 4 times the energy when you only got 2 units of time in the gravity? And the fact that things weigh based on time is just so obvious. Again, I have to put something on the scale and give it a whole second before it can weigh its weight. And the faster I move something across this scale, the less and less it will weigh. Because weight takes time. Because gravity takes time to give you your force. It needs time to give you the force. It's not an instantaneous force. I mean, duh. Ugh, idiots. But you have to do a lot better than citing a mathematical formulation, a silly derivative where you've made up fake circumstances. Again, acceleration is just a change in velocity. It's not a magical thing. And there is no such thing as per second, and there certainly isn't anything called a second squared. There's no cubes of time anywhere. There's no squares of time either. Well, I'm just saying it proves the science doesn't have any integrity, right? So if you're going to say they're cowards, isn't that the same thing as just saying they never had any integrity in the first place? These aren't the people that should be doing your science. People who are afraid of the truth, those aren't the people you want doing science. Let's see, that maybe there are people who deep down you are right, but hate that you are the one pointing it out. Well, of course, that's what it's all about. What, well, you think if I was Sean Carroll, you think they'd have any problem going, oh yeah, we made a mistake. Oh yeah, Sean, thanks for figuring it out. Oh God, gee, we're so silly. Oh yeah, we really fucked up. Yeah, that's what they'd say. But it's me. So yeah, no, they can't possibly acknowledge that, oh, Gary's right and we're wrong. Oh no, can't acknowledge that. And the ironicness of the fact that I'm the only motherfucker on this planet of morons who noticed this doesn't make any sense, who noticed that every time you move a force from a big object to a small object, you can't conserve both the momentum and the kinetic energy. Nobody else could figure that out. It's mathematical. It can't possibly be conserved. And they couldn't figure that out? Both of them can't be conserved. It's not possible. But yeah, this shouldn't be an argument. Because this mom fucker, I mean, why don't you just explain to me, okay, how you actually believe it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast? Just explain to me what makes you believe that, like you saw it on a racetrack or something. Where did you see this phenomenon? You'll make a response, whatever this hold on bullshit is. I want a response video. I want you to draw it or I want you to show an experiment. I don't want you to talk shit. I've been doing this for 10 years. You know, I'm not going to sit here and, ooh, he said in 5 minutes he's going to create an answer. Oh, no, you're not going to create anything that answers any of my points. You're not going to prove that ballistic pendulums do conserve kinetic energy when they obviously don't. Yeah, okay. Well, you're done already, right? You know, I'm not going to bother with somebody who's just making jokes. So I'll time you out for even longer than your dog walk. How's that? So I'll time you out for a whole 30 minutes. So you can just go fuck your mother for 30 minutes. Well, you can fuck your mother for 25 minutes and then take the dog out for 5. That was funny. Typical adversary be disrespectful. Wait, is that a real thing? I don't know what that is. Wait, is that a real thing? I wonder what that's about. It's what a real thing. I don't know. But anyway, it is, this is, like I said, I've made these arguments over and over. Levers, pulleys, ballistic pendulum, hydraulics, electricity. I mean, electricity is such a great example because it's got things that are so similar. I mean, voltage is like velocity, and amperage is like mass. And you have wattage. You don't have wattage squared. You don't have any extra. I mean, you don't have voltage squared. To change the wattage. It's always just the amperage times the volts equals the watts, and there isn't anything else to mess it up. And it's the same for the rest of these systems of energy transfer. It's always just about masses moving. And that's all you have is velocity and mass. You have amount and quickness. It's just so depressing. I mean, obviously voltage, quickness is a tricky concept just because you're talking about how direct the energy moves through the atoms. So the point is the higher the voltage, the higher the pressure. Is like a sound. A loud sound goes through in a straighter line than a weak sound that gets dispersed. So again, it's back to my argument. So one of my papers, like the guy mentioned papers, one of my papers would be the paper explaining how all sound is created by motion faster than the speed of sound. So all sound starts with sonic booms. You have to move something faster than the speed of sound to create a sonic boom, and the sonic booms are what you make sounds out of. So that's the funny part, is that it's only the booms that travel without loss. So that's why the booms are so loud and can travel such large distances, is because the booms represent the pressure necessary to quickly move through the atmosphere without being dispersed. All right, have you drawn how gears convert in regards to momentum versus... Yes, I did gear videos maybe a year ago. I stopped doing gear videos. I don't know exactly why. I guess it's because the weight of the gears really gets into, makes a mess out of these arguments, because there is a real loss to moving a metal gear, and so then you can talk about plastic gears and different things, but it does complicate the issue just because you can't just put a little bit of energy into gears, because there is a substantial get it going energy, to overcome all the static friction in a gear mechanism. So I guess that's why I didn't bother, but obviously it does. It's exactly the lever. I mean, gears are just levers, right? You're just saying that if I, if I change the rotational, the rotational radius, that it's exactly the same as a lever. And so it's, it obeys the law of the lever. So again, the gears are just another law of the lever argument, just like pulleys are just another law of the lever argument. And again, this is 2,000-year-old physics. Oh God, I gotta really quit doing this. It's like this mouse is just getting beaten to shit. I just gotta clear my desk. That's the problem. See, I have to do my drawing here, and I just don't have enough room for peripherals. So I gotta come up with a better system, a little side table or something. But I have all kinds of battery chargers and different other mucky shit all over the floor. Anyway, my life isn't very organized. Yeah, I mean, once gears are moving, like I said, they get pretty efficient, but yeah, there's a lot of overhead. Yes, well, the difference between me and you involuntary suffering is that I'm insanely productive. So that's why my life is messy. It's because I'm amazingly productive. It's true, though. It is fucking true. It is funny how it's absolutely true. I'm absolutely fucking brilliant, and I'm only brilliant because I think about things that other people... They pretend they're thinking about it, but they don't really do it right. And somehow I do thinking correctly. And so I get right answers. And other people get wrong answers. Even doctorates of physics. you know, PhDs who don't know what conservation of momentum is. Who don't know that momentum is what Newton was talking about. Newton wasn't talking about kinetic energy. Jeez. You don't say twice the force, twice the motion, 3 times the force, 3 times the motion. You don't say that if you believe it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. You just don't do that. But yeah, it really doesn't matter. Like I said, the experiments, you know, like I said, the Bruce Journey experiments with the wooden blocks is just so visual. You can just see. And you're just saying, okay, something that has 16 times the kinetic energy and it doesn't win the collision. And you're just saying, how can somebody believe it's there? The energy is somehow there. And then the rocket ship one is even better, though, right? Because, you know, you can calculate the kinetic energy of the exhaust, and it won't get you anything in terms of motion in the spaceship. The only thing that can move the spaceship in space is the momentum, and the kinetic energy can't ever. So it doesn't matter whether the exhaust is dog do or, you know, your mother's panties, or it doesn't matter what you throw out of the ship to move. If you calculate the kinetic energy of it, it won't tell you anything useful, because all that's going to matter is the momentum of your exhaust, and that's it. Because that's all the ship is going to get, is the equal and opposite reaction to the momentum. I mean, that should be a slam dunk argument. Because you're saying if it can't move a spaceship in space, how can people believe it's real energy? I mean, it's ridiculous to argue it's real energy when it can't do that. And it can't do it even if there was an impact. You know, like if you had a tiny little meteorite and it hit the spaceship, it can't give it the kinetic energy. It can't happen. The spaceship can't absorb it. Oh, stealing my name. That's a no-no. Let's see. We all know how productive you are in Mendham. You have been giving us Chris Chan level. I don't even know who. So why bother using a reference where I don't even know who you're talking about, you stupid fucking dumb cunt. Oh, God. People are just so stupid. Herbert Wallaby. You're as ugly as Herbert Wallaby. Who's Herbert Wallaby? I'll go Google him. I just can't believe how dumb people are. They're just so scummily dumb. I mean, they can't even troll with any kind of cleverness. So, anyway, 2-minute warning, let's say. Ugh. I probably should play another one of this guy's videos, right? So let me go look at his channel real quick and see if there's something there worth wasting time on. Let's see. Blue Moon. Alright. Let's see if we go back. I'll just go way back. Go back a couple of years and see if I can find something on kinetic energy. How to play video games. Oh, that's really super. Crap. Doesn't look very good, people. Let's see. How to do magic. Mind power. Oh, he probably has kids. So he's exploiting his kids in the video. That's pretty disgusting. Let's see, producing a fireball magic trick. No, not too interested. Flash paper. Oh, see, he's really big on explosives. So that's really not good. Alright, how to make some sort of crappy drink. Kombucha. Alright, cutting an old fluorescent light tube. What for? Mystery tube demonstration. Oh, fuck you. Mystery. Can you solve Einstein's riddle? I don't think there's a riddle there. Let's see. How to make a flash tampon. Oh, that's, that's just so fucking 4-year-old. Alright, and the rest of this is Double Dragon Atari. So it's playing old Atari games. Okay, no thank you. I mean, Asteroids was the only good Atari game, right? Remember when Atari came out and it was like Asteroids was just so cool. Oh. So cool. I remember my neighbor had one and I was like, oh, fuck. I just kept looking for some excuse to go over to his house. Like I could break his plumbing or something. Then he does, let's see, Nikola Tesla inventions, myth or reality. Well, I mean, obviously he did invent big sparky machine. And his resonant vibrator was pretty clever. But yeah, everything else he did was kind of retarded. I mean, he made a radio-controlled boat, which was, kind of innovative. But this was exactly when he was supposed to be making wireless communication. It was like, how did you fuck that up, moron? You could almost ask the question. I mean, how did he screw it up? I mean, they gave him millions of dollars to do the right thing, and he, did a radio-controlled boat instead. Just pathetic. Operation Jupiter. Okay, that's more Atari. I hate channels that have mixed content. It's just such a irritant. Trick that is worth a try. Oh, I don't think it is. This crossbow costs only $35 at Walmart. Okay. Best crossbow. Yeah, well, I mean, crossbows are great, and as long as they don't break. Because you can get foobarred by one pretty easily. That's my opinion, anyway. I'm a little scared of them, frankly. Let's see. Self-driving Tesla accelerates to avoid accident. Okay, so he's a defender of Tesla, I guess. Ultimate guide, homemade nitric acid from everyday products. Let's see. Non-Newtonian fluid. We're not going to bother with that. That's just cornstarch, so not interesting. What is dry ice made out of? We know it's CO2. Let's see. Glass cutting with electricity. Alright, so glass cutting with electricity almost sounds interesting, right? Yeah, okay. All the rest of this stuff sounds like shit so far. Alright, let's do this one. Why not? Alright, gotta change this thing, and gotta change that to that, and then I have to change this to that, and then it's gotta play the dumb ads, and let's get done with the ads. Thank you. Done with the ads, please. Finish the ads, please. Finish. Ugh. Oh, fuck. They're long ads, too. Really annoying. So it doesn't like he's cutting glass, it's like he's breaking it. It's this annoying intro.
Is a power supply or a set of batteries. In my case, I like to use an adjustable voltage power supply.
From Pasco, the company that makes all kinds of tacky, crappy stuff. It's way overpriced.
Anything like that.
So he bought a $35 Walmart. He buys a $35 Walmart crossbow, but he ends up paying $250 for a shitty, crappy Pasco power supply. Funny.
The only thing you need to make sure is that your power supply can deliver at least
You got it for
500
free.
milliamps. You will also need some cables and
Oh, this is
cables
really
that
great
have some
physics.
alligator clips. You will need
Fingers.
standard
You will need to
glass
have
stripper.
fingers.
That's just $2. You will need some resistance wire. This is nichrome 36 gauge. You can get it on eBay or on Amazon, and it's a wire that heats when you run a current through it. You will need 2 bolts and
Alright,
nuts.
so it's not really electricity,
And
it's heat. He's using heat to crack
It's
glass.
better if you have some
Not that
washers.
interesting.
And Doug.
Are you here for Tracy?
We're here for everyone.
Time. Let's see, there's a lot of commercials, frankly. It's a lot of commercials.
You will need ideally a piece of single side PCB. Now if you don't have this, there is an alternative I'm going to explain in a moment, but first let's assume that you have this.
This is a
okay?
piece of insulator, I
And
guess.
you will also need some wood blocks.
Alright,
Now
forget
this
this.
is
Let's get
weirdly
to it
shaped,
already. This is
and
too fucking tedious and annoying.
so let's go for it.
Alright, that
Don't
still
do too
ain't
much.
there. So
Folding,
it's got
that's
a little
it.
wire
Okay.
going through, and
And
so
the
it's going to be
other
a hot
side.
wire, and then something, and then something
And
happens,
this.
and then something.
So right now there's no voltage applied. I'm going to increase the voltage,
Alright, so again, this is just heat.
500 milliamps.
Alright,
Better rest on something so that it doesn't move as we
okay,
score
so
the bottle.
bottle
Okay,
cutting.
so
This
now
is
the
going back to
bottle-
my childhood.
It can only turn, it cannot move. Okay? So go ahead, do a nice score, don't press like a fool. And it is important not to go over the score again once you have made a full turn, okay?
Yeah, don't restart it like that
Really
either.
a bit
Don't do
like
any of
this,
this bullshit. So this wasn't very well thought out. Oh,
Alright.
hilarious. Alright, now he's
So-
going to put the hot wire around the score line.
See the score?
Okay, that's all this whole thing was about.
Perfect. Like the DC voltage. And plug the leads.
So you don't need all of this crap. You could have just
Currently
directly
there's
got
no
the
voltage
alligator clips right to the wire. You didn't
Fine,
need
so
all this
no
other
current
shit.
running yet. Try again. Alright, now let me apply a voltage.
I mean, I could have done that with a vaping coil. Yeah.
Okay, so right now the wire should be quite hot. So it applies some stress on the glass, and in order to apply some more stress, what you can do is to put a few drops of water, which will make it cool off very fast, but then the water is going to evaporate very fast and it will warm up again pretty fast. So. And sometimes we can hear the glass cracking as we put some.
Yeah, this looks like a great way to fail, frankly, but whatever. Be better to have ice at one end or something and just let that take care of it all by itself.
Okay. Let's wait a little bit for it to warm up again. Alright,
Tedious.
water.
Four days later. Ta-da! Well, yeah, it
There
only
we
took
are.
4 days.
Nice cut. We only need to
Sand it, yes, because it's
polish
not that
with
perfect.
sand.
Alright, so that was a terrible waste of time. Yeah, sorry. My bad. Okay. Yeah, that was just really bad. Oh, God damn. I tried, right? Yeah, I tried. Let's see. Yeah, I noticed that trolls tend to lack awareness. You can always find them. I don't know what that means exactly. They they lack creativity and spunk. They're spunkless. Okay, hey, this is my first time catching a live stream. I've been watching your channel for a few months. You really tell the truth about the whole energy versus momentum deception I've been thinking about. Yes, that's what I do. I also tell the truth about gravity, and I also tell the truth about the double slit experiment, and I also tell the truth about there's no entanglement, and there's no wooey wavicles, and all the other crap. There's no antimatter, and there's none of all this shit they talk is all shit. Standard model is standard poo. It's just absolute made-up religious kookery by a bunch of, nerdy, flirty, purdy, they're all physicists have just gotten so queer. There's no manly physicist anymore. Yeah, no, Arnold's, the Arnold Schwarzenegger of physics. None of those are abound. Well, it is kind of coincidental that you're an Atari gamer. Because he has a bunch of Atari game videos. That is funny. Yeah, I just didn't, like I said, there wasn't nothing else that was in, I mean, even that stupid thing with the, what was it, Pac-Man? Yeah, I found that fairly uninteresting compared to shooting them little meteors. Well, actually shooting the big meteors, right? Because then the big meteors would turn into little meteors and, But they really could have done something with that in terms of, gravity and momentum. They didn't have any... Well, I guess the later versions, they started adding stuff. But they added stupid stuff like those stupid flying saucers and shit, which kind of just ruined the whole game. But anyway, that reminds me of Angry Birds, right? Because, I did play that a little bit. And it was interesting when they came up with the one in space. With, where you use gravity to hit the pigs. And that was really, it was sort of like golf. Because you had to really, you had to calculate the break, And so I thought it was a much more interesting game. I mean, it wasn't visually bad either. They did a good job of it. Yeah, I just have a real, my brain knows I can't play with video games. So I'll play a game for a couple of days at the most and I'll run away. Because I know you just can't afford to get addicted. I'm just a time sucker. That's how I maintain my high level of productivity. Because I don't have any fun. I really don't. My life is just miserable. Fighting and arguing, that's all I do. And there's so many things to fight. There's just injustice everywhere. There's just evil everywhere. All right, people. 2-minute warning again. Say something interesting, or I'm going away. Well, what magical thing made you less miserable? I'm just curious. Heroin? I mean, what's the secret to life? Living on a miserable planet. How do you be happy on a miserable planet? It's just all the little nuisance stuff too. You know, the computer, that I got in the garbage. Starts doing something stupid and you have to waste 5 hours trying to figure out why the computer's doing something stupid. It's all that nuisance stuff that gets in the way. Alrighty then. I think we're almost done. Yep, almost. So anyway, did my job, and we'll see if this asshole can come up with some kind of counter arguments and such. I found abundance in myself. Well, I don't know what that means, but whatever. Yeah, I just don't know what that means. I mean, if somebody was going to be stated to be full of abundance in themselves, I'm the one. But I just don't get it. But anyway, it's okay. Looking internal, that's probably some, that does keep me going, right? It's just the internal struggle to maximize your performance and try to be a better person than you are and all that kind of crap. And so you don't even have to think about the project because you're just figuring on, doing better tomorrow than you did today or something like that. Let's see. Life is dangerously meaningful. That's the horrible part. Yes, exactly. The horrible part is life is full of they're broken everywhere. So there's all this work to do. It's just, ew. There's so much to clean up. Ugh. So, yeah, it's like all the litter bugs, just left the place a shithole. And, if you're a decent person, you say, I gotta clean that crap up. Alright, so anyway, I used to do that where I used to live, just because it was kind of, environmentally rural, and, assholes would throw garbage out of their cars, and there was no bee sweepers, there weren't any sidewalks, and so, there'd just be junk on the side of the road. So, once a month or so, I'd go out with a plastic bag and just walk the streets and pick up all the crap. And it's just, you're just like, I mean, you got $2 million houses, and you're just saying these are the people driving to their $2 million house, and they're throwing crap out their window. I mean, it's just, you're just like, what the fuck? It's so bad. Well, Atari Gamer Guy, looks like we had a lot in common. Yes. Yes. Yeah, well, that's not my problem. The fact that you can't permanently fix anything, it doesn't matter. So anyway, okay, so I guess I will go. Yeah, I really should. Yeah, I'll just get to it. Let's see, I gotta go find the right button to hit and all that crap. Alright, so anyway, reasonable enough. 10 viewers, well, you know, not great, but not terrible. So, maybe we'll try again sometime, we'll see. And whatnot, and so forth, and blah blah. Blah blah blah. Blah blah. Blah. Yeah, I want to hit the button. There. I'm hitting it.